Hey, thanks for stopping by. Another short review. This time we're going to look at something a little new and old at the same time. I've been a fan of Kalia for a while. Kalia does a 12-year, you usually see, pretty rarely available. This guy, if you're lucky, you'll run into it. It's a peated version. It's a 18-year-old. And they have Distiller's Edition and a Moke, which is a travel retail. That's pretty much their core line. You will find a lot of blenders and independent bottlings, and Portiseg is another good example of folks who love Kalila's juice and they take it and make it something of their own. Um, John Glazer from Compass Box uses Kalila a lot too, from what I've gathered in some of his recipes. So, um, basically, like I said, it's an Isla. This one is colored and chill filtered. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure 43% ABV, but it's all about the taste. So let's dive in and see what we can get out of this. Ooh, wow, that is lovely. It's a peat smoke right off the bat, which makes me feel great, even especially for an 18-year. Because usually when you get into the upper years, you start losing your peat. Smoke is definitely in your face, but it's a refined smoke. It's not a. I'll get more details later once we get closer toward the finish, but a well-rounded smoke. It's got some coffee and some chocolate, no, like some cocoa notes. Some lemons. I let this sit out for at least 18 minutes too, by the way. Always try to keep it out as for many years you get. I leave it out for that many. Sometimes some of these NASs though you do have to leave out just as long, if not longer. Some take 45 minutes to open up. This one, I think about 18 to 20 minutes is a good deal. Like I said, lemons and oranges, like an orange gumdrop, citrus tones, barley, and some briny maritime notes too, which is nice. Wow. And there's some florals, like some marigolds in there on the nose. Wow, it's well rounded, it's balanced. Hmm. Wow. First note, and it's not a negative thing, even though I'm not a huge fan of like the really oaky tones that you get sometimes from whiskeys. But the oakiness does come forward. There's some vegetal notes though that appear right from the get-go too. I'm leaning towards pine. The peat smoke is still there. It turns into like a silky, dark, and milk chocolate combination. Wow. There's some toffee in there. It's a light mouth coat, which, usually I like a heavier mouth coat, but it's also got this heavenly, fluffy marshmallow and some nutmeg. And right before the finish, there's like this hazelnut factor going on. Hmm. And the finish is long. It's it's not a bonfire type of peat smoke. It's not charred. And it's also not a white ashy smoke like you would get from like an Ardbeg No or something like an Enoch. I think the Cutter was more of a white ash type of smoke. I think I had a Cur just like that too. But no, this is more in the middle. It's perfectly balanced between the char, the overly charred smoky type versus the really light ashy. It's right in the middle, which I actually really like that. Hmm. Let's have a little water and see. Man, I'm extremely impressed so far. It's really hard to knock it for much of anything. I'll get into that in a second, but we're just going to give it, and this is 43%. I know it's crazy to some people to add anything to a 43%, but I'm telling you what, even with 40%, sometimes, and it only takes like a little eye drop worth of literally of water. I'm going to give 2 little drops. Barely makes much of a difference, you would think, but nose, palate, and finish wise, sometimes it depends on the whiskey. Sometimes I get a big difference with that. So let's go and give it a couple swirls and see if we get something maybe a little different out of it. Oh wow, the nose, see, the nose has changed completely. Not in a bad way. There's more pine that I was getting earlier, but it's got more of the apples and the pears in the back. Brings the fruit more forward, but that's like a white to mid-level fruit. Nothing currant or black cherries, none of that, but definitely like on the lighter end, like the white grapes and pears and apples. Mm. The smoke is a little bit tamed by the water, which I'm not a huge fan, but it brings a lot more of the fudgy aspects, more chocolate into the palate, which I was already a fan of the dark and the milk chocolate out of it. Mm. Now it's going more of like a hot fudge cake or hot fudge sundae. Finish is still good. It's a little drier than it was before, and I'm getting more of a spice kick on the back end, like a black pepper. But it's not bad. It's well rounded. I tell you, this is going to be a really tough one. This is one of the best whiskeys I've actually ever had, I have to say, and I'm pretty picky. I usually grade 0.25 increments, 1 to 5, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. And man, if there ever was a close to a 5, this would be it so far. Um, the only thing I can really knock it for uh, is the I wish the ABV was about 40, at least 46, if not 48%. And the reason I say that is not to get a kickier palate. I mean, the palate's perfect. It's to give it more of a heavier mouth coat, a little more viscosity on the dram itself. To me, that would give it a boost of experience. But I mean, the chill filtering, the coloring, yeah, I mean, I could knock it for that, but I'm just going by pure experience, what I get. And it doesn't, I don't think it takes away from this whiskey. It's so close to perfection. I'm gonna have to give this a 4.75 out of 5. That's how damn good it is, actually. Um, I wish I had more of it. At least I only drank half the bottle so far. Wow, I got a lot more notes on it. And you definitely want to get past the neck pour, I'd say, before you really dive into whiskey like this. But wow, it's an experience. The smoke level, I think, is what really helps this. And this is the reason why I give this dram such a high mark, is because you get every type of note outside of sherry, because this is a mixed, oh, I forgot to tell you, this is a mixed refill cask, which really threw me off. Is I was thinking they're using like old school used casks, but the reason why they do that is to get the woody notes down a bit, which I can understand why, because the first note I got on the palate, if you remember, was wood. So that really did something to it. It really helps that peat level. And this, to me, is a 4.75 because, like I said, it has a little bit of vegetal, it has a little bit of floral. It's got the fruit, it's got the peat and the smoke, which sometimes you get a lot of peat and not so much smoke, and vice versa, especially when you get into the sherry drams. But it's got like the lighty, the light marshmallow, but it's got the dark chocolate, it's got the mid-level milk chocolate. I mean, it's all over the place. It's got vanilla, but even though there is a lot going on, I mean, I could probably go into 20 to 25 notes on this alone. All of it makes sense, and that's what makes this dram, that's what boosts it up, minus the chill filtering and coloring, which usually I would knock it for that. But since it is such a well put together whiskey, complexity and the way the balance is, that's what really sells me on this one, I have to say. Well, thanks very much for stopping by. We're going to start a live here in just a second. I'll start a new live feed. Good to see you guys that did pop along for the short live review, and hope to see you again soon. Sláinte Vá for now, but I'll start a new live here in a second.